The Bridge Smartbrief. Consumers want businesses to embrace DEI. Despite broad public support for corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, brands are facing rising conservative activism and skepticism about the authenticity of these efforts. Public opinion strongly favors internal actions, such as hiring and promoting employees from minority groups, over external-facing efforts, according to new data from Morning Consult. Oh boy. Shadow Cyber Demon, thank you the 5 Canadians. His friends later found out he watches Asmongold and Wendigoon. He's an ally no more, pretty much. Pretty much. And this article I had to open in an archiver, I'm pretty sure. Beep, beep, beep. Hold on. Yeah, so when I opened this article, it says, on DEI, consumers want corporate America to put its money where its mouth is. And then it just, even on a regular archive site, it just kind of cuts off here. It makes you sign up for an account. So KB got us a screenshot. U.S. adults believe hiring and promotion of minority employees are the most meaningful ways brands can support DEI, according to new Morning Consult data. Oh boy, I bet this is just like the McKinsey study and most of it's fucking bullshit. Key takeaways are going to be a plurality of U.S. adults believe companies are only somewhat genuine in their efforts to support minority groups through diversity, equity, and inclusion-related initiatives. The wokeness does not go far enough, chat. Focusing DEI efforts on internal staffing may be a way to improve this. Clear majorities of U.S. adults said recruiting, 57%, and promoting, 55%, employees from minority groups are effective at achieving workplace equality, while less than half, 47%, said the same about companies supporting inclusion in an external manner, such as selling LGBTQ plus pride merchandise. All right, I got some questions here. If clear majorities of U.S. adults are saying that recruiting and promoting minority employees is effective at achieving workplace equality, if the majority at this current time are still white people, how are white people the racist ones who promote an oppressive culture if they're also the ones say in the majority to say that we should be recruiting and promoting minority groups? Unless you've got a skewed template of people you've identified here for your study. You're asking too many questions. What is their metric? It keeps changing. As attacks on DEI by conservative politicians and pundits show no signs of stopping, it's more important than ever for brands that wish to promote diversity to have a firm understanding of what initiatives consumers view as most impactful. Poll after poll, including our own, continues to show that a majority of Americans support companies engaging in efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Despite this, conservative activism against the practice has reached a fever pitch in recent months, forcing brands to reevaluate their DEI investments, which, for the most part, began in earnest following George Floyd's murder in 2020. Saint Floyd of the Fent mentioned, take a shot. New Morning Consult data offers guidance for those brands looking to implement, maintain, or grow DEI commitments amid such hostility. We found that, as is the case with many other corporate engagement areas like philanthropy, consumers want corporate America to put its money where its mouth is. Literally. U.S. adults ranked hiring and promoting employees from minority groups as the DEI-related actions that most effectively support workplace equity. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Didn't you say it was equality up here? How did you go from it supporting diverse equality to calling it equity down here? Did you maybe have a little slip? I mean, we already know that you changed equality to mean equity and that neither of them ever meant actual equality in the first place, but there's a little funny slip there, guy. DEI legitimacy questions linger for some. Even outside of Republican political circles, corporate DEI practices face some skepticism. A plurality of U.S. adults think that companies are only somewhat genuine in their efforts to assist underrepresented groups through DEI programs. Meanwhile, nearly 2 in 5, or 38% of U.S. adults, believe the work isn't coming from a genuine place. Pluralities of most consumers think that corporate DEI efforts are somewhat genuine. So we have, let's see. Wow, that's crazy! That's crazy! I would have thought that women would have been a higher percentage than men. So, under the gender here, for men who believe that DEI efforts are very genuine, it's 11%. 32% of men believe it's somewhat genuine. 14% don't know. 25% think it's not too genuine. And 18% think it's not genuine at all. Women, 8% think it's very genuine. 35%, so a little bit larger than the 32% of men, think it's somewhat. 24% of women have a don't know opinion. 23% think it's not too genuine. And 11% have not genuine at all. Interesting. Maybe they think it's very genuine and that it's 100% happening and it's bad. They're talking about it being genuine in the fact that their companies are committed to helping the minority and underrepresented groups. So when they talk about it being genuine, they're saying, this is a good thing, I'm glad this is happening, I believe the companies are committed to doing this. So when they say it's not genuine, they believe that the companies are doing it performatively, which when we looked into B.R.I.D.G.E.D.EI in January, that was initially what Cheryl Dijja said was the reason that they set up B.R.I.D.G.E.D.EI in the first place. They realized that companies were only doing performative DEI. DEI wasn't working. People were unhappy with DEI. And so they wanted to figure out a way to operationalize DEI as a business practice in order to make it more genuine. 11% of women and 18% of men have brains. In generations, all right, here we go. Gen Z adults, 7% believe it's very genuine, 30 somewhat, 29 don't know. Millennials, 13% think it's very genuine, 34% somewhat genuine. Gen Xers, 10% very genuine, 34% somewhat. Yeah, baby boomers, they got the highest percentage so far for not genuine. That's crazy. 7% of baby boomers think it's very, 36% think it's somewhat. For ethnicity, 17% of black adults believe the DEI efforts are very genuine. 35% believe it's somewhat genuine. 21% don't know. 20% it's not genuine. 7% not genuine at all. Hispanic adults, 12% think it's very genuine. 30% somewhat. 24% don't know. 21% not too genuine. And 13% not genuine at all. On white adults, 8% believe it's very genuine. 33% somewhat. 19% don't know. 24% not too genuine, and 16% not genuine at all. That is an interesting spread. Why don't they have Asian adults there? Shh. Political party, the Democrats believe it's 13% very genuine, 40% somewhat genuine. The somewhat genuine people have got to be the like, this is a good step in the right direction, but it's not going far enough. 15% don't know, 26% not too genuine, 6% not genuine at all. And on Republicans, somehow 8% believe it's very genuine, 29% somewhat genuine, 17% don't know, 24% not too, and 22% not genuine at all. Perfect illustration that the people it concerns the least have the worst opinion on it. Though these findings hold true for every major consumer cohort, men, baby boomers, and Republicans are the most doubtful of DEI authenticity. And they're also the most likely to support DEI rollback efforts. However, one dimension of DEI that isn't up for debate, at least according to public opinion, is its overall value. A clear majority, 58% of US adults, believe DEI initiatives are either very or somewhat important to the success of most businesses. Another large majority, 66% of employed US adults, believe the presence of DEI programs positively impacts their organization's culture. According to data featured in Morning Consult's recent report on consumer appetite for corporate engagement amid the 2024 election cycle. All of these Americans wouldn't be incorrect. External research consistently shows that companies committed to diversity eclipse their counterparts on a number of business outcomes, including financial performance. I know I can't click on these because it's a screenshot, but I am willing to bet that this consistently shows either links to another article that doesn't have sources, or it links to something talking about the McKinsey study. If they included diversity of opinion, then the question is misleading. And all of these Americans wouldn't be incorrect. I already read that. But even with heaps of empirical evidence, negative narratives around DEI still persist and can pose big brand reputation risks if they migrate from conservative circles to the mainstream consciousness. Which is rare, but has happened. Don't worry about those silly conservatives. They never have any impact on anything. We can just keep doing what we're doing. Just change the language a bit. They'll celebrate like the idiots they are. And we'll eventually have cultural dominance. Just don't even worry about it. Making staffing a centerpiece of DEI programs is one way brands can ensure resilience against this kind of event and instill confidence among consumers that inclusion efforts are being made in good faith. Direct support is the best support. It's a generally accepted principle that employees are the lifeblood of most businesses, and it appears that this sentiment exists in the context of corporate DEI programs too. U.S. adults believe that staffing-centric actions like recruiting 57% and promoting 55% employees from minority groups are the most effective at achieving workplace equity. DEI actions tied to internal hiring are most likely to move the needle. U.S. adults were asked whether they think the following corporate DEI actions are effective at supporting workplace equality. Oh, they did it again. They did it again. These are... U.S. adults believe staffing-centric actions like recruiting and promoting from minority groups are most effective at achieving workplace equity, whereas this information talks about workplace equality. Man, funny how that works. Recruiting employees from minority groups, 57% said that this was effective. Promoting employees from minority groups, 55% said it was effective. Hiring diverse actors for ad campaigns. Literally 50% of people want diverse advertising. Who did they poll for this? This is not real. Supporting diversity through product lines, e.g. Pride merchandise, 47% of people said that that's effective. And creating identity-based affinity groups, 37% said that that was effective. In contrast, external-facing work like selling inclusive merchandise or featuring diverse actors in an ad campaign is viewed by the general population as somewhat less meaningful than internal initiatives. Still, this doesn't mean these efforts are moot. Inclusive marketing is appreciated by most Americans, and it can even drive purchases among younger, non-white cohorts. We read an article about this during one of my previous Smartbrief dives, where they mentioned that Gen Z fluctuates to diverse content creators, and a lot of Gen Z and the generation under them, their purchasing is driven by these diverse content creators, encouraging them to buy what they're pushing. So it's very interesting. Once again, content creators have been brought into this sphere, and they're saying that the more diverse the content creator, the better they will be able to sell to Gen Z and the younger generation. Me when I lie. The fact that whoever they polled from Gen Z especially, and they were like, yeah, we care a lot about the diversity in our content creator. I take diverse content creators more seriously when they try to sell me product. I wish I could remember exactly what that article was so I could bring it up briefly, but I know it was in one of my previous bridge dives. I really need to get all of those cut up and put up on my channel. No. And while things like... Oh, wait, sorry. Brands should be mindful, however, that any diversity-focused creative features specific experiences that reflect the real lives of minority consumers. And while things like identity-based hiring programs or standardized inclusion scores have become best practices for DEI-driven employment, there's yet another new frontier brands must now consider: artificial intelligence. Several popular automated hiring tools like resume scanning bots have been found to possess biases related to gender, race, age, and disability status. When we were reading through Amazon's white page talking about their DEI initiatives, Amazon mentioned that they are training specifically AI to implement tenets of DEI. They are going to be using AI to help with their unconscious bias training. So there are companies who have already put into action training AI models in order to push this kind of stuff. The more DEI forced into AI, the worse it will be. Knowing this, brands should be extremely conscientious when choosing HR software vendors and consider setting quality standards. Clearly, disclosing what hiring tools are being used on a job application landing page may also earn brands some goodwill among candidates too. DEI durability. 41% of employed US adults said their company either currently has or has had DEI programs in place in the past, but only 20% reported ever being involved in one. And this is because the DEI teams were either basically isolated and only talked with like marketing and HR, or they were outside consultants like what we see in the gaming industry. Most DEI initiatives are opt-in and not meant to cater to every single employee, but involvement figures were equally low among the underrepresented groups that DEI programs typically target, such as women 16%, Black 20%, and Hispanic 20% adults. This data suggests that while corporate DEI efforts are broadly popular, the actual practice is in somewhat of a precarious position, especially against the backdrop of an ongoing crusade by Republicans. Wow. This is basically just saying there's not enough people participating in these initiatives. Let's just make it the problem of everyone at the company. Where have we heard that before? So, the data suggests that while corporate DEI efforts are broadly popular, I already read that sentence. I have a hard time reading images, chat. That said, industry experts resoundingly agree that brands often do more harm than good by taking a position and then backtracking on it in the face of scrutiny from a small group of consumers. So whether the goal is to increase internal adoption or withstand potential conservative attacks, brands' best bet is to activate on DEI in the ways that are perceived as most impactful. In 2024, that means attracting, retaining, and elevating minority employees. Of course, more holistic programs can be built up around this, but a staff-centric DEI nucleus offers brands some insulation from politically charged news cycles and consumer behavior. I really dislike their use of holistic programs. It makes it feel even more culty than they already sound like. Probably don't want to participate because they find it offensive, I know, right? The staff-centric DEI nucleus, we need to embed this as the DNA of the company. A very interesting wording. Back to the B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI Smartbrief. Corporate boards positioning for anti-DEI efforts. Anti-DEI activism against companies like Harley-Davidson, John Deere, and Tractor Supply is prompting corporations to reassess their diversity policies and communication strategies. In response, boards are focusing on managing digital reputations and transparent communication with stakeholders. If it quacks like a duck, true. Corporate boards brace for DEI backlash. Corporate executives and boards are ramping up communication efforts to prepare for attacks from activists linking business performance to DEI policies. For some public companies, it is not a matter of if these politically motivated attacks will come, but when. Harley-Davidson and John Deere have both walked back their commitment to diversity, while Tractor Supply has pulled the plug on diversity and environmental efforts following a social media campaign led by conservative activist Robbie Starbuck. And we already know that Harley-Davidson and John Deere didn't actually walk back anything at all. The only thing they've done, once again, is remove themselves from the Human Rights Campaign reporting. I don't have an answer for why everyone is pulling out of the Human Rights Campaign. Again, maybe the HRC has outlived their usefulness, and now the HRC is like a badge for conservatives to attack, so if they just drop out of it, they can still keep their internal metrics, but they don't have a public one? I'm not sure. No. As a part of the anti-DEI campaign, the activists have scrapped the social media accounts of executives and board members in search of comments about LGBTQ rights, sustainability, and DEI. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. They're just like, you can't use our tactics. You can't go back. You can't go back in people's social media feeds and look at what we're saying. To prepare for this new type of professional doxing with 2 X's, corporate boards are sharing more about their operational decisions and personal credentials with investors, employees, and consumers. What the fuck do they mean by this new type of professional doxing? If you have made a statement on social media, that's not doxing. That's just looking at your tweet. What do you mean? What did they mean by this? Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. These people aren't real, chat. What they're saying, board members often seek to challenge management and provide robust oversight, said Townsend Belisle, founder and CEO of strategic communication and production company Haystack Needle. First of all, what the fuck kind of a first name is Townsend? Ironically, though, they might be the ones facing challenges because of their online presence or lack thereof. Belisle says the business of monitoring and enhancing the digital footprint of board members has doubled in the past year. Controlling and managing digital reputation is crucial for executives, as their public image can significantly impact their career and the organization they represent, he said. If they don't control their own personal narrative, others will. And this is more of a problem in, like, the actual professional sphere, right? Which is why they're probably trying to liken it to professional doxing. Oh no, you can't pull up my tweets where I said, I hate white people and you can't be racist to them. That's doxing, professionally. But it's interesting to me because the acolytes that want to push this in the gaming industry aren't even smart enough to control and manage their digital reputation. You see the people at Sweet Baby outwardly attacking people. You see the journalists making crazy statements in defense of them. You see people like Alyssa Mercante straight up threatening to fight people. These people that we're reading about in the actual corporate professional industry understand that if they're going to do evil things, they must promote themselves publicly as not evil. And just hope enough people are dumb enough to believe it. You can't make a list of all the things we've worked on that's professional doxing. Holy shit, you're right. The Sweet Baby talking about the list of their public games that was available publicly on their website, saying how that's a problem. That would probably fall under professional doxing in these people's language mind games. I wonder if we'll see people trying to use that in articles coming up. Right-wing activists have now forced a reversal of policies for 3 major American brands, and this will likely embolden them to target others. We already know that these brands have not actually about-faced. There's also been an uptick in activist investors challenging ESG and DEI-related policies. Some companies are more susceptible to anti-DEI pressures than others, says Gravity Research President Luke Hartig. Any B2C brand with a conservative-leaning consumer base should definitely be worried, while brands with a more progressive consumer base are generally safe because the base is not as receptive to the anti-DEI arguments. Yes, but going back on a commitment or appearing wishy-washy is likely to damage corporate reputation. This can be the kiss of death because it alienates everyone, one crisis communications expert said. While I agree with going back on commitment appears wishy-washy, what did we see after the Bud Light boycott had gone on, quote-unquote, long enough? Tim Pool came out and said it's okay to patronize them again. They realized they fucked up and they apologized. Kid Rock came out and said, I'm ending the Bud Light boycott because it's just silly and childish to keep it going. We have people celebrating right now that DEI is going away. They're taking these statements that they haven't even fully read at face value. So people are believing the smokescreen. Keep the boycotts up, exactly. The decision by Tractor Supply, John Deere, and Harley Davidson to revoke DEI policies have garnered more attention than the attacks coming from its top critic. The policy reversals show 77% more media mentions and roughly 40% more social media interactions than Starbucks' initial anti-DEI campaigns, according to newsship data shared with Axios. Alright, I might think that Starbucks is preemptively celebrating too soon, but for them to, like, number friend this guy in their article is absolutely insane. The journalists are number friending on Twitter now. What timeline is this? Fucking reality check. Research continues to show that companies with diverse workforces outperformed their less diverse competitors by an average of 29% per year. Man, I am so sick of reading this. It's just like per capita. I can't tell if these people either don't understand or purposefully obfuscate, right? I'm sure there's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. But like, how do you not understand that the causation does not necessarily correlate to this? This is what a lot of old Gamergate elites did. They said to fight, but only as long as they could make money off of it. Once they couldn't, they started saying, you're not better. And they tried to sell you something if not the same brand. I was like, I want this shit to go away. I don't want to still be here fucking screeching about Bridge 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I want this to actually start going away, man. Plus, the majority of employees, 56%, believe that diversity in the workplace is a good thing, per a Pew Research study. In the same way companies have started to change how they tout ESG, they are also starting to change how they talk about DEI. And I thought this article, it says go deeper. I like the go deeper. This the backlash is real. I wanted to skip this one. I'll read the little blurb though. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, was the hot thing in corporate America a few years ago. Now, not so much. The business community, long averse to political risks and controversies, backed away from DEI programs over the past 2 years in the wake of widespread attacks from lawmakers, high-profile rich guys. Oh, so there's a high-profile rich guy? They're not even activists anymore? Oh, and conservative activists. Who are the high-profile rich guys? Bill Ackman? Oh, Elon Musk, of course. Like former Trump aide Stephen Miller. This is what I wanted to read. Companies rush to define DEI. Share who say that select words are divisive by party. Corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are even more under scrutiny in 2024. Oh. Corporate DEI strategies will continue, but boasting about them will not. Chat, how long have I been saying it's going underground and they're being quiet about it? Words are divisive by party. Progressive, apparently, is a divisive word. DEI, very divisive. Pride, somehow not as much divisive. Interesting. ESG, very divisive here. Conservative, also divisive. Latin, how is Latinx such a small little bar here? Depends on how quiet people can actually be. A good commie stay underground. Hot damn. Hot damn. I guess cancel culture is one of the most divisive words. 73% of Dems say cancel culture is divisive. 80% of Republicans say cancel culture is divisive. The fucking Gringexes! Oh my god. Woke has really high divisivity. That's also very strange. Alright, this graph hurts my woman brain. Because they did it with the highest at the bottom instead of at the top, but then the bars are also, like, the margin of difference between them. Oh, man. We need more Latinos against that word. True and real. Corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are under even more scrutiny in 2024. Corporate DEI strategies will continue, but boasting about them will not. Billionaires like Elon Musk, Bill Ackman, and Chip Wilson have created a lot of noise by publicly debating the merits and legality of DEI initiatives. I feel like it's a little weird. I don't know who Bill Ackman and Chip Wilson are, but I'm sure it's probably weird to describe them that way. But to just reduce Elon Musk to, like, rich guy instead of like a company owner or an entrepreneur or a businessman, I don't know, that's weird. That's weird. This paired with the recent Supreme Court decision about affirmative action at universities have corporate communicators, human resource professionals, and in-house counsel working to better define and explain their inclusion practices. The terms affirmative action and DEI have been conflated, says Valerie Capers, Workman, Chief Legal Officer for recruiting platform Handshake. Those who practice DEI need to clearly explain what it is and what it is not. It is not about preference or prioritizing one group over another, like affirmative action, for groups that have been historically discriminated against. We literally just read an entire article about how companies need to prioritize doing this. What the fuck do you mean? Like, lying to this degree is not going to work in current year. It's about ensuring the best candidates are found. Talent is everywhere. Excellence is everywhere. But access to opportunity is not equal, which means you have to widen the search. These fucking weasel wordy people. According to a recent study by the Harris poll, a vast majority of adults, 81%, believe that corporate America should reflect the diversity of the nation. If corporate America was to accurately reflect the diversity of the nation, I don't think they would like the direction that goes in. They're admitting that affirmative action did that. They've been very mask off this past year. Meanwhile, young job seekers are still motivated by corporate diversity and inclusion efforts, with 50% of college students seeking out companies that prioritize and practice DEI, and 77% preferring companies that have a diverse leadership team, per a Handshake study. Plus, chief human resource officers do not plan to scale back their DEI strategies, according to a recent survey conducted by the Conference Board. Instead, they are reframing how these strategies are marketed, similar to how companies are pivoting away from phrases like ESG and sustainability in favor of terms like impact. We already know about impact funding as well. We knew about that change earlier. According to the Harris poll, roughly half of Republican voters view the term DEI as divisive, while only 27% of Democrats agree. A majority of Republicans polled also believe terms like BIPOC, Latinx, and ESG create more division. Voters from across the aisle find terms like cancel culture, woke, and underrepresented to be alienating. This linguistic disconnect also transcends generations, according to the Harris poll. 75% of baby boomers view the term BIPOC as divisive, followed by terms like underrepresented, 70%, and Latinx at 67%. Meanwhile, Gen Z is more likely than any other generation to find quote-unquote conservative, 65%, patriotic, 53%, and progress, 31%, to be the most divisive terms. Target the children, chat, and it will be all they know. DEI, like many of these acronyms and phrases, have devolved into ideological dog whistles. Americans hear and sort them like voters instead of consumers. They're either red or blue, said John Gierzerma, CEO of the Harris poll. I love that he said this. They hear and sort them like voters. They've devolved into ideological dog whistles. When we were talking about the Sherm nonsense, and Robbie Starbuck was like, look at how angry these people are that their sweet equity is getting dropped from the DEI acronym. And I was like, these are true believers. These are people who believe the message of DEI is genuine and not just some kind of Marxist subversion, and they just don't know that their utopia they're trying to usher in will not be what they think it is. These people have been taught to respond to stimuli. They hear words and they know what those words mean, and when that definition changes, they will think they are getting rid of something that is important. So these true believers, seeing the word equity leave, this was an ideological dog whistle, they believe that these companies are actually changing what they're doing when they are not. And they blatantly say that they are not. But because that trigger word is missing, some of these people will believe that they are lacking in their efforts. Which is why a little bit of rebranding needs to happen, and these true believers need to be brought into the fold to understand the language may change, but the work stays the same. The commitment to this imperative stays the same. Because of this, DEI branding is now being replaced with terms like well-being and employee experience. Plus, some companies are expanding how diversity is defined by including demographics like religion or socioeconomic factors. I like how one of the words they chose is employee experience. Like both of these, right? Well-being and employee experience are so robust and vague that if I wasn't reading this article, I probably wouldn't pick these up as changes in terminology for what these people are pushing, right? Because it's like you don't see well-being and be like, oh yeah, I know that the Marxists are using that now. Like it's they really are making it incredibly difficult for people to notice what's happening. We're seeing companies be more clear that diversity is about equal access to opportunity, and so we're seeing the terminology change a bit. But the desired result has not changed, which is a diverse employee population. There is a blurred line between where good strategic business decision-making ends and where more risky corporate activism begins, says Mission North co-CEO Tyler Perry. That name sounds familiar. I think we'll see companies focus more on getting their house in order and less on promoting external work unless it is truly authentic to their brand. This means taking a closer look at their internal policies, supporting their employees, focusing on community engagement, and prioritizing causes and issues most relevant to their employees and their business. Bridge's framework is a 72-axis framework where a lot of the change starts internally and then eventually bleeds out into the consumer sphere. While companies might stop publishing lengthy DEI reports on an annual basis, the commitments will continue. What does this link to? Little briefcases? Executives say they're still committed to DEI, new survey finds. Executives remain committed to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, despite rising backlash against it. Survey's results come as the anti-DEI noise is getting louder. 57% of 322 U.S. executives surveyed in November by the employment law firm Littler. Littler? You're really gonna name your law firm Littler? Okay. All right. Said their organizations have expanded their DEI programs over the past year, and 36% have maintained them. At the same time, 59% of execs, a mix of chief legal officers, chief diversity officers, chief people officers, which is what we've seen some of the diversity officers' titles change to obfuscate them, and other C-level folks, so they believe backlash towards these efforts has increased since the Supreme Court's June decision that race couldn't be used as an explicit factor in university admissions. The court's ruling wasn't about employers, but in its wake, companies grew anxious that any programs that take race into account would be vulnerable to litigation. Since then, activists have filed so-called reverse discrimination lawsuits against law firms for their minority fellowship programs. I just don't believe that they're calling it reverse discrimination. There's also ongoing litigation filed by the same group behind the Supreme Court affirmative action case over the Fearless Fund, a venture capital firm that focuses on Black women. And I've talked about the Fearless Fund here before. What's happening, for the most part, instead of panicking and getting rid of programs, companies are auditing their initiatives to ensure that there are no legal risks, says Janine Conley-Daves, a shareholder at Littler. Yes, but 6% of respondents to the Littler survey said they decreased their DEI efforts since 2022. Asked why they cut back, half cited concerns about legal liability and litigation, including reverse discrimination lawsuits. 44% pointed to reduced DEI budgets. 28% cited the Supreme Court decision. Now with this, we have read many articles since this Supreme Court decision on not just Bridge, but other chief diversity officers and other people involved in this kind of work, reiterating that companies shouldn't shy away due to the litigation. They need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to keep doing the work and how to keep being authentic while also avoiding lawsuits. Because this work is imperative, and you cannot let lawsuits stop you from doing it. They like keeping reverse because it labels it as white so it can be discounted. Yeah, I had a little rant on that earlier. For now, corporate America still likes DEI. These programs have become an important part of employee relations and talent strategies for companies, Littler points out. The moniker DEI itself, what to watch is the moniker DEI itself. Littler, for its part, used the term IE&D, inclusion, equity, and diversity, to reflect its prioritization of inclusion. We wouldn't be surprised to see more companies move away from the old term, too. Wow. Well, it's almost like I've been talking about that since like January, February. The name is ridiculous. I know. Why would you name your company Littler? It just makes me think of Lil Hitler, man. And then down a little bit further here. Yeah, in their Smartbrief, they actually unironically have ads from companies in here. It's kind of weird. Cultural competency and DEI initiatives. I know we're going to go a little bit over, chat, but like the bridge shit, when I get into it, it's important in my opinion. So thank you for staying a little later with me tonight. Project to promote DEI in engineering. The issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in engineering are the focus of a project by the National Science Foundation to establish a center dedicated to DEI. University of New Mexico School of Engineering researchers are leading the $1.2 million initiative that will take about 2 years to create DEI infrastructure with leadership accountability and a new reward. Structures and cultures in this, a new reward structures and cultures in the school. This is the University of New Mexico. I want to make sure nothing weird pops up real quick. Blah, 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 blah. Wonderful, more crashing planes. Oh, fuck you! Equal, not separate. UNM researchers lead new NSF Center for Equity in Engineering. Wow, this is the second subscribe pop-up. A group of University of New Mexico School of Engineering researchers is leading a new National Science Foundation effort to establish a center that is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the field of engineering. Donna Riley, Jim and Ellen King Dean of Engineering and Computing, is the principal investigator of planning a center for equity in engineering at the University of New Mexico. The $1.2 million project begins September 1st, 2024, and is set to conclude August 21st, 2026. Well, big 2 years, baby! Co-principal investigators on the project are Melanie Moses, professor of computer science and special advisor to the dean on educational initiatives. That's a mouthful of a title. Eva Chi, professor of chemical and biological engineering and associate dean for faculty affairs and engineering, and Vanessa Savala, associate professor of chemical and biological engineering and special assistant to the dean for learning sciences. Man, all of their titles are mouthfuls. Riley said that the project aims to build infrastructure for equity through leadership accountability, resource management, data and metric development, partnership enhancement, and shifting reward structures and cultures in the School of Engineering. Drawing on a sense of place as a core value and strength in New Mexico, the project will advance equity knowledge and practice in engineering, forge links between cultural and engineering identities, and engage new concepts of engineering informed by culture and place in both research and education. By changing how we teach to better reflect students' lived realities and local contexts, by enhancing connections between student support services and classroom experiences, by skilling up faculty staff to better serve students of all backgrounds, and by incorporating equity into performance evaluations and reward systems. What a horrific thing to have to read. What a horrific thing to have to read. God damn. Equity in engineering sounds like a good recipe for things to be destroyed or blow up because of idiots. I'd also, even if it's just like the engineering for building like a home and whatnot, right? Like that's more architectural, but sometimes you still might need an engineer depending on what you're developing. It's a good way for them to be not working very well. Like Boeing, yeah, like Boeing is definitely suffering from this kind of thing. We will decrease inequity in student experiences, learning outcomes, time to degree, and graduation rates. How do you suppose they can promise to decrease inequity in student experiences, the time to get their degree, and graduation rates? That sounds a whole lot like giving things to people who might not be qualified to finish them off. Grading on one hell of a curve. Yeah. Croesus, thank you for the 10 pounds. Love you, Super Foxu. For real, how do you find a super-based woman like me? I don't know. All of us autistic women played MMOs, dude. When a majority of women you meet day to day have been completely psyoped by intersectionalism, I wish I had better advice for you on that one. I don't even know where to meet people anymore. All the men I meet are gay. Said Riley, who also is a professor in the Gerald May Department of Civil, Construction, and Environmental Engineering. Oh boy, the woman who said that they need to decrease the inequity in student stuff here is a professor in the Department of Civil, Construction, and Environmental Engineering. That is horrifying. The project builds on an over 30-year history of UNM as a Hispanic-serving institution, or HSI. I didn't even know that was a term. And a 50-year history of supporting minoritized students in engineering. What do they mean by minoritized? As a school of engineering with majority minority enrollment, you can't do that. You can't be like, yeah, the majority of people enrolled in our school are minorities. That just makes them the majority. What do you mean? Enhancing student success and closing equity gaps will diversify the engineering profession and workforce. As more institutions become Hispanic enrolling over time with national demographic shifts, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? The new center and UNM will be positioned to demonstrate what equity work can look like at an HSI. If the majority of people at this school are already minorities, and if you're saying institutions are going to become even more Hispanic enrolling because of the demographic shift, the equity would then have to go to the non-Hispanic people, because the non-Hispanic people are no longer an underserved minority group at your institution. They are, in fact, the majority group. God damn, is Kirsche reading white supremacist conspiracy theories on stream again? I'm reading progressive racist conspiracy theories. You'd think that, wouldn't you? The structural and cultural changes driven by the Center for Equity and Engineering will transform lives and communities by further increasing the realized social mobility of our graduates and provide a replicable model for other institutions. This whole sentence here, I just don't like that. Like, the dystopian language really gets to you sometimes, man. Like, it just ticks away at the walls in your brain. This should not be a thing. Like, anywhere, but especially in engineering. Like, actually insane. This would be a lot simpler if they just say they don't like white people. Yeah, but they can't say that outright. Like, they already went too far too fast at one point when they were just like, yeah, we are teaching your children that white people are inherently evil. Because they are, duh. And then everybody was like, wait, hold on, wait, I thought it was about teaching real history, and then they had to backstep like 5 paces. Unfortunately, it is a thing. These people exist. Thanks, I hate it. Is there another way to frame DEI? Latasha Morrison, a leading DEI voice, suggests reconsidering the terminology used in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to enhance effectiveness. She underscores the importance of strategic language choices, creating a shared vision, and debunking the zero-sum game. Alright, so this touches on what I have been screeching about since finding Bridge. Is it time to rename diversity, equity, and inclusion? Also, Julie Kratz, isn't that the name of the fucking lady we read earlier? Wasn't Julie Kratz the lady with that fucking weird-ass book that we found on Amazon? Am I crazy, or is that the same name? I'm bad at remembering names, chat. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, it is. Oh boy. Oh boy. We got a little picture here that says identity, equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging. Language matters. If DEI is the right acronym for your organization, don't let the naysayers force you to pivot. If people understand what it means, why it matters, and how the organization is using DEI to create a competitive, sustainable advantage, it is likely a long-term fit. If you're getting resistance where people are not willing to be allies, perhaps pivoting to a word like inclusion or belonging might be a better fit. In my interview with Latasha Morrison, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion DEI thought leader and author of Be the Bridge and Brown Faces, White Spaces, she said, as DEI practitioners, again, this is just more bridge language, we're not married to the current terminology. Our goal is to create a culture of belonging for every employee, regardless of race, gender, or disability. Broadening DEI to include more than one race and gender helps bring more potential allies into the conversation. Regardless of the name we choose for the work does not change. If you're considering renaming DEI, consider these ideas from Morrison first. Be intentional with your language. Create a vision and debunk the zero-sum game. Be intentional with language. Morrison found in her research that words do matter. For example, instead of white fragility, she uses racial literacy. Again, this is just them rolling back the language so you don't realize exactly what they're talking about too quickly. You can't do anything but be called racist if you try to argue with racial literacy. If you bring up that white fragility is in itself a racist assignment, they don't have much of an argument for that besides no white people are evil. So if they change the terminology to make it safer, to make it a more inclusive sounding language, you can get those pesky white men to help you push your ideology finally. They both have similar impacts on people learning more about how to talk about race, but the term racial literacy creates less polarizing responses. The same rings true for diversity, equity, and inclusion. What words best describe the work you're actually doing to support DEI? To facilitate this, Morrison centers her work around bridge building, where people from different lived experiences can learn to talk about social issues and rebuilding systems so they work better for everyone. From healthcare to education to housing, many systems were designed by members of the dominant group, white, straight, cisgender men without disabilities, to work best for the dominant group. Morrison believes if we start with education first, target them kids, we will see the most impact. When we talk with young people about diversity, equity, and inclusion early on, they are more likely to understand the issues and take action later in life. Yeah, you raise those little radicals. If they don't know anything else, they're just gonna capitulate. Rather than shame or blame, teaching about systems of inequity and historical wrongdoings can help keep young people from repeating past mistakes. As Simone Morris and myself have found on our Inclusion School podcast, oh boy, I want to listen to that shit. Having conversations earlier with young people matters. If people want to be better ancestors and leave the world better than they found it, diversity is a fact, and inclusion is necessary. As Layla Saad writes in her book, Me and White Supremacy, Combat Racism, Change the World, and Become a Good Ancestor. For her, the primary force that drives my work is a passionate desire to become a good ancestor. This is like some sins of the father shit, Jesus Christ. In her workshops, Morrison likes to ask the question, how can we reimagine an education system, or any system, where everyone is thriving? You can't guarantee thriving for everyone. This is some commie gobbledygook. Oh my god. Once people anchor to a vision of a world that's more inclusive and better serves the community, they start to believe it's possible and map their behavior to support that future outcome. Once people have an anchor to a vision, This is literally just like, once you fill them with propaganda and they finally start to believe in it, you have a cute little programmed pawn that you can just use. In order to become a good ancestor, you'll create a system which will benefit my descendants as much as humanly possible. Oh, this is just communism with extra words. Once people can imagine a future world that's more inclusive, they can begin to tackle the issues that are preventing that from transpiring. Redlining, property taxes, and other systemic issues that have led to a disproportionate educational experiences, where people in the dominant group are more likely to have access to higher education, thus perpetuating systemic issue. What the fuck do they mean by property taxes? Everyone pays property taxes. I don't think we should. If we eliminate property taxes, it should be for everyone, not just a certain race of person. That's crazy. Debunk... Oh wait, hold on, I think I missed a sentence. By creating a vision and acknowledging the systemic issues, allies are better equipped to take substantial actions like voting, advocacy, and sharing knowledge with others. No, we need those pesky white men to stop feeling demonized so that they become allies with our nice new language. We need their help to perpetuate this. Debunk the zero-sum game. The challenge with the exercise of imagining an inclusive world can be if people default to a zero-sum game mentality, which says if we modify systems to work better for some, they will somehow work worse for others. This loss equation is rarely true. When systems work better for some, more often than not, they work better for all. Come singing this commie shit. This does not make sense. With what we know they're trying to push, this does not make sense. Not if you're allocating limited resources. Allyship requires a mindset shift. You gotta get rid of those unconscious biases, chat. Instead of a zero-sum game thinking, pivot to a more curious growth mindset. Some examples might be, instead of if I win, or if they win, I lose, shifts to if they win, we all win. Special treatment is not fair shifts to we support people by meeting them where they are. What do we lose shifts to what will we gain? This is literally just fucking nonsense reprogramming. None of this makes sense in the realm of what they're pushing. If you lose, you win. Yeah. What was it that Trudeau said? If you kill your enemies, they win, or some shit like that? It is important to acknowledge these fears while pivoting towards a more inclusive, non-zero-sum game language. Once people see the positive results of DEI work, they're usually more happy with higher rates of innovation, profitability, and improved decision-making. I just don't believe you, crazy lady! I am wondering how much we'll see, like, this special, specific programmed language here. He didn't actually say it, but we all know he would. You're listening, you're getting rid of your unconscious bias. They are now very conscious! Oh my god. We're excited. Crack pipe! Back to the brief. We got a SAP staying firm on DEI commitment. Despite a broader industry pullback on DEI initiatives, SAP is doubling down on its efforts to foster a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace. Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer Supriya Jha highlights the importance of embedding DEI into all business aspects to stay relevant with changing workforce demographics. This is, once again, we are reading the B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI Smartbrief. This is the B.R.I.D.G.E. language. This is what companies are doing now. DEI is not going away. It is being embedded as a business practice at the heart of the companies. We have not won any battles yet. SAP is heavily used by most industries. When I opened the article, I was just like, I don't know what SAP is, and they didn't explain. Like, I briefly skimmed this to see if they explained what SAP was as an acronym, and I couldn't find anything. And there's like the little logo right here, so I had to go and look up what SAP was. No, I don't need help, go away. The future of AI at SAP CX Live, generative AI is transforming the market. Join us online on September 24th to discover exciting new ways to use it to your advantage. And apparently they are a German software company. It's a big management thing. Yeah, apparently it's a German software company. They have like enterprise resource, CRM, customer experience, human capital management. They got all that interesting stuff here. And then they have trusted by companies small and large around the globe. You have SMA, Twinnings, the T, ThyssenKrupp, Gebhardt, the WTA, Endress and Hauser, Versoon, Microsoft, the Blue Diamond Almonds, Helvetica, Mercedes, Mahindra, Team Liquid, the esports team. What the fuck are they doing in here? What is happening? New Zealand Rugby, the Coca-Cola HBC, not the almonds. Basically everyone uses SAP. Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know what this was. Nestle's in here, obviously. Hanes brands. Of course, it's the Germans again. SAP is pretty standard in industry. Yeah, I am learning what SAP is today. Toyota, I don't know what the fuck that logo next to Toyota is. Some like weird looking shark thing. A Grupo Nutresa. Changi Support Airport Group. I don't know what that is. Mod. I don't know what that mod logo is either. It's like you guys in chat were saying, tons of fucking companies use SAP. Revolutionize your business, transform, prepare for anything with ERP. Now, I'm not a DEI consultant, but I feel like you shouldn't use the acronym ERP. Yeah, I mean... And there was this article, Supriya Jha, driving transformative change in diversity and inclusion at SAP. Supriya Jha, the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at SAP, has been transformative force in the realm of diversity and inclusion. Recognized as one of the Diversity Global Magazine's 2024 Top 15 Chief Diversity Officers. What the fuck is a Diversity Global Magazine? What? How do they have awards for this shit? What is happening? Wait, let him cook. Supriya's career is a testament to her dedication to fostering inclusive workplaces. Her journey, marked by personal and professional health challenges, has shaped her into a leader who not only advocates for diversity, but also implements actionable strategies to achieve it. Oh god, help. This feature explores her career, achievements, and impact she has had at SAP, providing insights and lessons for others in the field of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Your company's been forced to use them because the places you bid for contracts with shifted to using them. You don't have anything to do with bidding, but your coworkers that do have said it's absolute dog shit. Oh, man. Early life and beginnings. I don't really think we need to read this. Leading diversity and inclusion at SAP. When Supriya Jha joined SAP, she was impressed by the company's established foundations in diversity and inclusion. What impressed me most was the tell-it-like-it-is attitude of our employees. SAP had a rich history of initiatives, particularly around LGBTQ, inclusion, and autism, spanning over 20 years. What two weird foundational poles to have next to each other. This long-term commitment to diversity provided a robust platform for Jha to build upon. Upon her arrival, Jha identified areas where SAP's DEI strategies could be enhanced. One of her key initiatives was the introduction of the company's first diversity and inclusion report. We launched our first ever diversity and inclusion report, which has completed 2 editions since 2022. The report played a crucial role in increasing transparency and fostering a sense of ownership among employees regarding DEI initiatives. 2022 was when B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI was monitoring DEI in other companies, and then 2023 is when B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI 2.0 initiative was launched. I don't have like direct links between the B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI 1.0 initiative and the B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI 2.0 initiative. They could be completely separate entities. It could be a coincidence, but it's still an interesting thing to note. Is my neck okay? I had to rub my eye, I'm sorry. our employees really began to own the topic of DEI in a more tangible fashion. Ja has also been instrumental in boosting SAP's efforts around various employee networks, such as the Interfaith Alliance. This network is focused on creating an inclusive environment for people of all religions and faiths, proving particularly valuable during global crises like the Women's Revolution in Iran and the Israel-Gaza conflict. Wasn't the Women's Revolution in Iran back in like the 70s? Or am I thinking of a different Middle Eastern country? Americans always with their DEI stuff. Well, it's not just here, unfortunately. Under Ja's leadership, SAP has made significant strides in diversity and inclusion. One of the notable successes has been the revival of the Returnship program, designed to help individuals re-enter the workforce after an extended break. Ja has also focused on ensuring that SAP's DEI strategy is integrated into its broader business strategy. This includes applying a DEI lens to areas such as artificial intelligence. When we think of AI, for instance, we apply the DEI lens. SAP's AI Ethics Steering Committee examines every product development effort with an emphasis on diversity and inclusion, ensuring that these technologies benefit all users equitably. On this one, I'm wondering exactly what they mean by designed to help individuals re-enter the workforce after an extended break. Could be something normal, like, oh, you were gone for 9-month pregnancy leave or something. I don't know. Extended break. Yeah, when they said extended break, my mind immediately went to felony incarceration. I immediately was just like, oh, okay, so this is for, like, criminals, right? They said the thing! That's why the West will never make a truly good AI. Furthermore, Ja has emphasized the importance of accountability in DEI efforts. Going forward with the KPIs that we track, we're going to hold our executive board accountable for our women in executive ranks. This approach includes tying compensation-related goals to the achievement of DEI objectives, ensuring that leaders are committed to fostering an inclusive environment. Compensation-related goals to the achievement of DEI objectives. I hate that this is a thing. Some companies have been like, oh, we're not doing that. And then, like, you look at their fucking, like, fiscal reports, and they're just like, yeah, we're still doing it. We lied. Unequal pay? Don't think of it as unequal pay. Think of it as to each according to his need. Think of it that way. Ja's efforts have not gone unnoticed. SAP's commitment to diversity and inclusion has attracted positive attention from investors and partners alike. Our investors began asking more questions around how we were doing on DEI. The external scrutiny has further reinforced the importance of maintaining and advancing SAP's DEI initiatives. These achievements reflect Ja's dedication to creating a workspace where diversity and inclusion are not just policies, but integral components of the corporate culture. Her work at SAP serves as a model for other organizations aiming to enhance their DEI efforts. Despite the significant progress made, Supriya Ja acknowledges that there are ongoing challenges in the realm of diversity and inclusion. One of the primary hurdles is ensuring that senior leadership remains fully engaged and committed to DEI initiatives. It continues to be a challenge, regrettably, in many places. To overcome this, Ja emphasizes the importance of connecting leaders directly with the experiences of diverse employees. Bringing leaders closer to the actual topic, getting them to see what it really feels like, is crucial for fostering empathy and understanding. Looking ahead, Ja is focused on further embedding DEI into SAP's business strategy and culture. She stresses the need for continuous effort and storytelling to keep the momentum alive. This requires consistent application of efforts over a long period of time. They do not care about profit. They do not care that they are bleeding money right now. This is for long-term winnings in the cultural war. This has been a war for decades. It doesn't matter if you don't want to participate in it. It will come for you eventually. Isn't she the former Twitter lawyer? If she is, I don't know. I'm very bad at names, chat. The weaponization of empathy has truly been the downfall of humanity. I agree. I absolutely agree. I focus on development of emotional manipulation, quote-unquote empathy over merit, quote-unquote success. True. When was the first sign of DEI stuff? That's a good question. That's a good question. Oh, God. Because most of the DEI stuff is basically just another transformation on Marxism, in America, we were in a unique position, and I brought this up before, and people wanted to split hairs about how there's different ethnicities in the Eastern Bloc countries as well. But that is different empirically from the kind of melting pot country that America is. When the Russians implemented communism, they did it mostly based on class lines. They were able to create issues between men and women and between the different classes. In America, they were also able to do this both between men and women, and they were incredibly effective in pitting men and women against each other, making men and women hate each other. But in America, we also have racial lines that we can be divided on. The more ways that Marxism can split people into these different factions that don't care about a shared identity in being an American or having American values, the easier it is to get people to adopt and accept Marxist policy. The world runs on capital. Trying to run your business without money is like trying to live without food. That is the problem with all of these places getting funding from firms like BlackRock, because they have a lot of money, and some of their investments are tied into people's 401ks. They have enough money that bleeding in the short term is something that they have seen as an acceptable loss in order to win the culture war. We are in the plane of normalization right now, which is why we've had years of modern audience talk. The modern audience doesn't exist. It is what they are trying to create with the youngest generation. How can something that was never one be divided? America is one nation. America is one nation. I don't know what you mean. And they get free money from all of us. No. Her vision of the future is one where DEI is seen as a fundamental element of business strategy, driving innovation and fostering a supportive and inclusive work environment. Supriya Jha's journey at SAP highlights the transformative power of dedicated DEI leadership. Her efforts have not only strengthened SAP's commitment to diversity and inclusion, but have also set a benchmark for other organizations. As Jha continues to advocate for DEI, her story serves as an inspiration for HR professionals and business leaders alike, demonstrating that with persistent effort and a genuine commitment, it is possible to create workplaces where everyone can thrive. Everyone! A few interesting SAP clients are Pfizer, Burger King, DHL, Samsung, eBay, Google, Amazon, Walmart, Dell, ExxonMobil, and IBM. It does not surprise me that some of those companies are in there. Like, Bridge already had a massive conglomerate of huge companies working with them. And so, like, knowing that SAP is also pushing the Bridge Initiative style language, and then being with even more companies, that's not surprising. It's all-encompassing, and I wish I was smart enough to know how to drive it out. Thanks for the DEI coverage. You know, it feels like Sisyphean, but keep fighting the good fight. It just, like I said when I started this Bridge segment, it feels just incredibly validating, right? To, like, just know that I'm not crazy when I've been talking about this for the past 8 months. Because it's like when people that I perceive to be more in the know than I am, or more up on, like, the political realm than I am, and are more deeply embedded into it, like Robbie Starbuck or like Matt Walsh, it's just like I feel crazy yelling about this stuff, but everyone just, like, ignores it, you know? It's like it makes you feel crazy. So being able to read this kind of stuff that reinforces what I've been screaming about, just... Oh, God. I wish it wasn't happening. I wish this wasn't real. But at least I know that I'm not crazy. Never stop. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And then, let me just put this down really quickly. Robbie Starbuck said, now the HRC is doing a campaign of texting people to cry about how much they're losing to us. When are they going to realize that we have eyes everywhere? Also, FYI, to the big-brained HRC president, if I decide to do a text and email campaign, it'll blow yours out of the water. And I'll be encouraging companies to verify that every single email from your campaign is actually a real person. Very interested to see the results of that. I would be interested in seeing the results of that too. The Human Rights Campaign wrote this. It says, tell corporate America Robbie Starbuck is an extremist troll and dropping DEI initiatives is not okay. If I hadn't been reading tons of Bridge corporate schlock for months, I would have been like, there's no way that's a real title. That sounds way too childish, man. Oh, but that's how they type. Far-right extremists like social media influencer and failed political candidate Robbie Starbuck are using corporate America as pawns, demanding they abandon LGBTQ+ people, people of color, women, and the disabled community by dropping commitments to inclusion. We will send your message to corporate executives at Ford, Jack Daniels, Lowe's, Tractor Supply Co., Harvey Davidson, and Deere & Co., who have cowardly succumbed to these anti-business demands. It sounds like someone's a little angry that these companies decided they don't want to participate in your social credit score system no more. It sounds like someone's trying to smear Mr. Robbie here because they're angry that they're losing relevancy. It's working, do it more. Let's fight back loudly, reminding them why equality and inclusion is good for business. Sign your name and let's send a message today. Subject, stand by your LGBTQ+ workers, customers, and allies. And then it's got all this contact data stuff. I'm guessing you're supposed to fill that in. As a supporter of the Human Rights Campaign, I am extremely disappointed in your decision to drop your company's participation in the HRC Foundation's Corporate Equality Index, or CEI, and other diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. You just made a major decision for your company because one internet troll got you scared. LGBTQ+ people and our allies are your employees and your customers, and dropping us will have huge implications on your business, your fiduciary responsibilities, and future profits. Did you know that 30% of Gen Z identify as members of the LGBTQ+ community? These are your future workers and customers. This short-sighted decision you've made will have long-term consequences. Look at how bold they are. Look at how bold they are. These are your future workers and customers. This short-sighted decision. They've already decided that they've won. And they're like, there's no way those silly little conservatives will ever turn back the clock on what we're doing. And they're too dumb to keep noticing how we change up our shit. Plus, withdrawing your participation in the CEI only continues to hurt your customers and employees who want to feel that they belong in your corporate family. The CEI has been a leader in creating safe spaces and safe work environments for LGBTQ+ people for over 20 years. In fact, today, over 1,300 businesses participate. These companies are doing the right thing for LGBTQ+ people and for their bottom line. So I urge you to do the right thing. Reinstate your DEI initiatives. None of them said they were stopping, except for Tractor Supply Co., including the CEI. All of them did say they were dropping out of CEI. That was the one thing they all had in common. Support your LGBTQ+ employees and suppliers. Welcome LGBTQ+ customers and their allies. And stop listening to manufactured outrage from MAGA bullies. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Whenever I see MAGA, a little flag goes off in my head. It makes me think back to dear old Juicy Smollett, and welcome to MAGA country. I don't know. I feel a little weird about this now. Wow, these guys sound insane. Yeah, the Juicy Boy. The Juicy Boy. And then HRC over here was tweeting, today Ford abandoned its values and commitment to an inclusive workplace, cowering to MAGA weirdo Robbie Starbuck. With the LGBTQ+ community wielding $1.4 trillion in spending power and 30% of Gen Z identifying as LGBTQ+, we won't forget this short-sighted decision and its impact. Also, why the fuck does the HR... Oh, Coconut was Kamala's Oshi mark. I forgot that she stole my Oshi mark, that bitch. Kyle Ford. I haven't looked into Ford, so I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on with them. I like how it says accounts HRC follows or mentioned can reply, and they managed to actually get 2 people to reply. I love Ford and have a Ford Ranger. However, since Ford is bowing to theo-fascism, I won't be buying Ford anymore. Hot damn. Look at that fucking ratio. Daniel Sierra, thank you for the $4.99. DEI has been around in fringe circles. A big investment in 2008 began showing its face in 2011, began to spread in 2014. DEI, before it was called DEI, it's been around way, way longer than 2008. Like, way longer. But I do not know exactly how to pinpoint down, like, when the rhetoric started. Theo-fascism, holy fucking shit. That was like, what was everyone's favorite thing to call Matt Walsh? It wasn't a crypto-fascist, it was something else. It was something else, I can't remember what it was. The principles are near ancient, much older than anyone here. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Critical theory is kind of the first touch point you know of for the DEI slop. Your guess was 70s or 80s? Way before that. 70s is when it, like, fucking poured gas on the fire, though. About 100% that each of these morons has a copy of Mao's Little Red Book. Christo-fascist? No. Stochastic terrorist! Thank you, Sparky. That's what it was. Ford isn't bowing. The Ford family who still runs the company have been hard lefties for generations. Help. They rebelled against Henry Hard. Yeah, like I said, I haven't read anything about what Ford is doing. But again, we have a track record of every company that put out that they're getting rid of DEI policies. Doubled down in their notice of saying that they're getting rid... Like, they were like, yeah, we're gonna roll back our DEI policies. And then at the bottom, it was basically just like, just kidding. This work is important and we're gonna double down. The only thing that's really been done with all of these is that they dropped out of the HRC. Why have they dropped out of the HRC? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The best educated guess that I can make, and an educated guess is all I have, is that in current climate, it is too dangerous to have a publicly social score attaching you to DEI. So companies might want to drop out of the HRC so they can continue doing the work without having a social credit score easily findable and attached to it. These people forgot demographic decline in their blackmail calculus. They want a social credit score like communist China. I mean, that's what the HRC has been for corporations for a while. Emperor Creatine, thank you for the 2. There's a reason people say the 60s ruined America. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And once again, like, if people are confused when I liken this kind of rhetoric and this kind of subversive language to communism or to Marxism, it definitely takes some hints from Mao as well with the Cultural Revolution nonsense. I would highly recommend searching on YouTube for Yuri Bezmenov's 1980s interview. Everything he said in the 80s has come true. He predicted exactly what was going to happen if we did not reverse the tide of communist tenets being perpetuated in our younger generations at that time. He said even if we started right that second in the 80s, it would still take multiple generations to reverse the damage that communism had done to American values. That's hecka informational. Very hecka informational. I would highly suggest, if you haven't seen it, to watch it.